Welcome to Create, Build, Manage, the Entrepreneur's Toolbox.
Welcome to Create, Build, Manage on BizTV. I'm Kelli Phillips. This season of Create, Build, Manage is brought to you by Thought Leader. Today we have two motivational guests for you. Mahalia Michaels will introduce us to the concept of Brain-Bliss to help us all awaken our superpowers. And Danielle Marivette Hernandez is an actor, a writer, and a director who is passionate about giving young women power over their bodies. Stick around, we'll be right back with more Create, Build, Manage only on BizTV. Our first guest has been committed to learning and practicing the healing arts while exploring unique ways to fuse them with the latest cutting-edge science on brain and body health. Please welcome Mahalia Michaels. Mahalia, how are you today?
In bliss and loving life.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been doing with your life for a while now.
The last 30 years, I have been a wellness coach, supporting people mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and even with sexual health. And the last 12 years, I started and have been growing my online academy, Brain-Bliss, and technology.
I see the sign behind you says the medical musician. Tell us more about that and where that title comes from.
Title comes from this long journey of understanding how whale and dolphin frequencies and human vocals can help clear unresolved trauma, what I call a heavy dark blanket of vibrational weight or energy. And we then can use these higher advanced frequencies to optimize neural pathway communication to really reconstruct the brain from trauma.
How did you develop this? Where did you come up with this whole idea?
I had 7 concussions since I was little. I had PTSD and was stuttering, had panic attacks, pain, fears, paranoia, poverty, a long list that comes with unresolved trauma until my last head injury off my mountain bike and realized from Dr. Swingle's input that I had the brainwaves of a war veteran and it was causing me a disability. So I was stuttering at the time. I had to wear glasses and he suggested neurofeedback. So I started to work with Dr. Swingle. And as my brain began to heal with high frequency technology from a computer, I ended up in Hawaii and was activated swimming off a beach off of Maui by the humpback whale mother, and then off Big Island, Hawaii by the spinner dolphins. Their frequencies illuminated my innate abilities to remote view, to assist others with these sounds that now come out of my mouth. And in 12 years, we've seen incredible results with many clients, many happy clients.
You were talking about the Brain-Bliss School and technology. Is this all a part of that?
Yes, it's an online school with 14 programs I've developed myself over these past 12 years. And there is a wide variety of subjects, topics that people can dive into, including dental health, including root trauma from sexual traumas, including brain concussion reconstruction to bone recovery, like really regenerating right on the depths of blood and bone and DNA.
That's incredible. What has been the response? Obviously, you have come light years away saying that you had, you were stuttering, you had glasses, and now you don't have any of that. So how has the transformation for you been? And then for what you have seen, what you've been doing for others?
PTSD and unresolved trauma is living in a hell, is what I call it. And then to reawaken the brain with counter current. So sound, say from whales, that is a delta frequency that matches or meets the delta heavy frequency of trauma, helps to wash it away or clear it away. I call unresolved trauma a pirate, and it will pirate off a person's brain and body until it takes them into an early grave, which does happen. There's many doctors who now know that head trauma will gradually diminish brain quality. And then from the tipping point, so when we're in negativity or that living hell, we are going downhill. But if the brain gets enough high advanced frequency through any and from trauma, then the brain moves through a tipping point, and it can take a little bit of time. But once it's over the edge and goes into more of a positive neural pathway activity, then we go into the bliss state or the higher brain state, which bliss is simply being in contentment, happiness, joy, and or even ecstasy and nirvana, because it's in our neuropeptides. We're designed to be healthy, strong, and not to be suffering, but rather to be in success. And bliss is our birthright.
It almost seems like you're regenerating the brain. Is that kind of what you're doing?
Well, I'm not personally doing that. However, the innate intelligence inside of the human complex supercomputer system has its own way of regenerating when it is given the proper and right amounts of light and sound, at the same time creating a countercurrent that cleans away the vibrational density. This is what I've noticed over these many years is many people who have had one concussion tend to have 2, 3, 4, multiple concussions, and they can't figure out why. So my technology addresses that repeat cycle, dark, heavy vibrational program in the body and in the field that's running through the circuitry, that it acts like a magnet or attractor factor, and it brings more trauma to the person. So we want to really take off that dark, heavy blanket. And this is what our amazing whale frequencies help people with, because once that blanket is cleared away, the pirate that sucks off the person's energy field and biology, then we can amplify the higher frequencies that are already innately within each individual.
I know there are probably viewers that are watching going, I need this help, but do they need to come to you to be able to participate?
No, the good news is they can join any one of the programs at the Academy of Brain-Bliss or brainbliss.com. We've got lots of free offerings, including tons of interviews on the events page. I myself am doing more and more live events, and we have our guided meditation, guided visualization. We also have now a Lyran Lotus, which is a scalar energy rejuvenation experience. And anyone can enter that for a 13-day free experience or join me for a monthly experience where they can meet me once a month online on Zoom and have these frequencies come direct from my voice. But really, we are simply reflecting my light, my sound, which has now been realigned, and I'm in self-regulating, which is our human birthright, is simply reflecting to the people that interface or meet with me. So that's also available for anyone around the world.
That's incredible that you can do this over Zoom. I mean, look at technology. Look at us go. Where do you want this to go from here?
The reason I want to add that it can work is because we're in a multidimensional field. And in this field, light and speed happens in an instant. So to receive frequency would be like someone just putting on headphones and listening to, say, binaural beats or a 4/3/2 harmonic in a song. So it's no different, really. I'm basically just singing to the brain and sounding from my instrument to their instrument. So that's how it can work. Plus, this physical body is only 1% physical matter. Every part of us everywhere else is 99% energy. So I'm simply, again, reflecting into that energy field, the high advanced frequencies for ecstasy, bliss, health, wealth, wholeness, and strength.
So again, one more time for folks that may have missed it, how can they get in touch with you and find out more about this and ultimately help them in the long run?
They can go right to the website, Brain-Bliss, BLISS.com, and check out the events page, listen to some of the interviews there, join the monthly Global Bliss Energy Medicine Transmission, which is free the first of every month at 9 a.m. Pacific time for 20 minutes, a little free energy medicine booster. And of course, I'm not a doctor. I do not treat, diagnose, or cure anything. I'm simply an instrument reflecting to the audience's instruments. So we all sing in coherence in this grander, greater symphony or orchestra. And or you can email home@brain-bliss.com.
Easy enough. Well, it certainly seems as though you have found your bliss. Mahalia Michael, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us today. Our next guest is a whimsical storyteller and a speaker with a focus on comedy and humanity, and she's even written her own show. Please welcome Danielle Marivette Hernandez to tell us a little bit more. And Danielle, tell us about you and about the show that you've written.
Happily. Hello, everyone. I'm Danielle Marivette Hernandez, and my show, Danielle XX, is my culmination of knowing I was going to grow up and be a woman one day, and having expectations, and then having experiences, and realizing those two did not correlate. So it focuses on observations of myself, observations of the body, and even further than that, just relationships between people from now and a millennia ago, which were very different. But we hold a lot of those expectations for ourselves still today.
Yeah. Why did you write this show? I mean, everybody in truth has a story, correct?
I think so.
So why did you write yours?
I hope so. Well, I always knew that I had this story in me. Truthfully, this story came out because I wanted to take a trip to Australia. And I was like, the best way to make money is to put on a show. But I always knew the title was going to be Danielle XX. I always saw those two X's and me sort of behind them. And I also knew I wanted to talk about women that I grew up with, women that I aspired to be, everything I admired, things that I was afraid of, and also this confounding confusion that people still hold about women, their bodies, and the rules imposed on them because of this.
Now, you mentioned the XX. Is there a significance behind that XX?
Absolutely. Everything in this show has meaning. And I start with that everything holds meaning for us, but because we're all different people, the same image and the same symbol is going to have different meaning for all of us. So the XX is absolutely intentional. It's about women. It's about our expectations, our experiences, being allowed to explore what we want in our lives. All of that is tied into a single title.
Who's your target audience for this show?
Well, basically anyone who's got a human body. I like to focus on the 12 and up genre because that's when our bodies begin to change and our perceptions of ourselves begin to change. Ideally with adults, with your parents with you, because it is about growing up and what we don't talk about. So I think the college circuit in particular would be my target audience to begin with. And then from there, see who else is willing to tap into the material.
So what's been the response to your shows thus far?
Ooh, I have to say it's been remarkably pleasant. I have a lot of reservations because this material has been so guarded for so long. But anytime I've presented it, whoever has watched has told me that it really made them reflect on what they absorbed as a child and took on and didn't think about. It made them think about what was important to them when they were younger and still is, but in a new way that sort of connects them to take action steps again. I look forward to seeing what future responses will be as well.
Is that what you're hoping to get, that type of response from the folks who see your show, to get them to think about things that they've been through or maybe have hidden back underneath somewhere?
Absolutely. I'm really hoping to peel back the layers and also the walls. We are all protecting ourselves so much because we were taught to. And those layers of protection can also be barriers to letting in the exact thing that we want. So when I invite you to sit with me and let you tell you about my dreams and those symbols, I'm actually asking you to hang up your expectations, your thoughts and beliefs, just put them aside for a moment and dive deep with me. And when we do that, it allows my audience to see without those filters of judgment acting out. They might still be chatting in the back of their mind, but it won't be the forefront. And that is the key, that they are allowed to absorb the material by letting it be my story, not theirs.
So if there were no controversial women's health care laws being threatened or anything like that, would this be as successful as it has been thus far?
Oh, that is such a great question. Has there ever been a time when there hasn't been stringent healthcare rules about women's bodies in particular? Not in my lifetime or any lifetime I've spoken about. And that's what I want to ask. If we can crack open and move past these distractions of being threatened all the time for, being a physical human, how dare we? But if we can get past that, then we can look at what's beyond. And what is beyond that is our relationships to each other, to the world. Every interaction's a relationship. Even this right now, we're having a brief relationship. We're bonding and we're sharing things. And it's going to impact us moving forward. So how can we do that in a way that fosters open communication and allows us to actually be present in the space?
Do you think this is a good show for mom and adolescent daughter to go and take in, and it kind of opens the door to something that could be an uncomfortable situation for a mom to be in, but they need to open these doors and talk about these subjects?
Oh, yes. I have spoken to my own mother about this many times because I am a daughter and she was a daughter. And so a lot of this comes from what I learned from my mother's perspective. My family is surrounded by women. So that was the first lens I viewed the world. And mothers and daughters have often been pitted against each other in a tragic way, but not in a way that is intentional, not in a way where a mother's intending to hurt their daughter. It was all about the constraints of the society we're raised in, and then how a mother must condition her daughter to survive in that realm. But if we change the conversation, we can change the realm we're living in. And as for it being uncomfortable, growth often is. I get uncomfortable, and I'm the performer choosing to put this up on stage. And only by admitting that do I give everyone else permission to feel their discomfort too. Okay, yeah, we're growing out of our shells to find a new and big world.
Danielle, I've got to ask, you brought up your mom. Has she been to your show? And if so, what does she think about it?
Oh, absolutely. My mother has been to all the shows that I've performed when it comes to Danielle XX. And a lot of it she knew about. Some of it she was surprised by. For example, I share a sneaking out story. I was just in college. I experienced sneaking out for the first time. And as I wrote about that, I realized I don't think my parents knew about that one. Surprise!
Was she okay with it now?
Oh, she laughed. She laughed, but she also felt like you didn't have to sneak out. You could have told us. But I didn't know. And that's the other thing, that there's so much that we're expected to know by a certain point, but may not be directly told. And so how are we supposed to find that harmony of getting the knowledge and then learning about ourselves, acting as ourselves and not just what people want of us. So even in doing this show, it's been a learning curve and it's grown with me as I've continued to do it.
So are you only doing the show, or are you also doing motivational speaking and kind of telling your story?
Yes, my show exists in its own context, and then I exist as a storyteller and performer outside of that. So I do stand up, I do comedy, I do motivational speaking, and I use segments from the show in those things. In fact, the first scene I wrote was a parody scene on Adam and Eve, and I enjoyed it so much that it became one of the premise of this because I realized how much of that story I blamed myself for, even though I was not there, but there it is, living inside of me.
Interesting. So if folks want to see your show or even hear you speak or get you to speak to their group, how do they get in touch with you?
Oh, the best way to find me is go online, find my social media. That is at Des Marivette, DezMarivettete, to find this specific Danielle Hernandez and reach out because I'd love to bring my show to you, to your realm, and anyone who's interested in general in talking with me. Holding open space for these conversations is the goal.
Well, Danielle, thanks so much for joining us. Look forward to finding where you will be and going and seeing this show. Sounds interesting. Thanks, Danielle.
And a pleasure.
For joining me today for BizTV's Create, Build, Manage from Thought Leader. Do you have a message that you want to get out into the world? Thought Leader has helped many aspiring motivational speakers land TEDx talks, from their virtual talk practice club to speaker certifications and TEDx-style coaching. Thought Leader will help get your message out into the world where it belongs. For more information, visit thought-leader.com. Stay tuned to BizTV for more stories that educate, enlighten, and empower.